So today I'm probably gonna do a little bit of a smaller update because it's my only like full day in London, and I've got an afternoon that is totally packed with calls, and I'd like to just organize things a little bit. I'm gonna be leaving some stuff here for the flat, and hopefully we'll have that sorted. I need to follow up about the flat actually, figure some logistical things out. Gonna Yeah, I think also I'd like to go out for a little bit, like walk around London, do something. Um, and yeah, my a lot of the call, just random little calls. So some for Dev Launch, some for Mint House, and Singapore's going to be a pain as a time zone. Unfortunately, it's really not the most like international work friendly. Most of the time, it's stuff that's like in Europe and Africa. It's great because you can have time zones from the US or time zones from Asia. They all work, which is really it's one of the best things about working in like Europe, or that kind of like around that central GMT time zone, plus minus kind of 2 hours. You're pretty good, pretty well off. I would say even Dubai generally, it's like just much better. But as soon as you start getting to like plus 7 hours, plus 8 hours from GMT, it starts to get a little bit annoying. So yeah, time zones are pretty frustrating. But otherwise, yeah, I think also one of the things I've implemented is I've basically got my assistant sending me a form to fill out every day. This is a recent thing, though, so I don't know if it'll last. But she sends me this form on a daily basis that asks me how many calories, how much protein, and this journaling thing is three things. And the protein and the calories is because historically I'm terrible at tracking my macros, and I'd like to do a better job of that. And if I can have someone else hold me accountable and I have to fill out this thing every day, I think that's way better. And then so I've asked her to like make sure I fill this out, and if I don't, you follow up with me until I do. And then the three things is just this. I realized on iOS 17, which I hadn't updated my phone to until like yesterday, which I realized is bad, but I heard bad things about iOS 17, so I held off for a bit. But there's this journal app, and I used to journal, and I thought, you know what, maybe I should do this a little more. And I used to do this like with gratitude. I used to do these like three things. Basically, I'd write down every day three things that I was grateful for, and they didn't have to be anything crazy. They didn't like, but they just had to be specific from that day, right? So like it could be, I don't know, the way the clouds looked, something as simple as that. The only rule is that the three things had to be specific, because and what it ended up forcing me to do, and initially I was just doing it because it was like I was into the whole like self-development space, and people, oh, you meditate and you journal and you do gratitude and whatever. And I don't know why I decided, but I decided to pick up the habit, and I forced myself to go through the motions. The idea, like when I started this, I must have been in 17. I was still in school, maybe 16, around that kind of age, 16, 17. And I was just writing things. So I was just doing it for the sake of doing it. I was just like, I've committed to this thing, and I used to journal every night. And bear in mind, if there's one thing that school does help you do, especially something like high school, is maintain a consistent routine. Like week in, week out, I was every night, you know, I had to show up at school for the same hours. And that's a kind of structure that is really valuable, and you lose when you become kind of self-employed or you do something yourself. And most people undervalue that structure. Like it's really helpful to have somebody constantly, okay, you have to be here at 7, at 7:30 go here. Like that has a lot of value actually. And that's, I think, a big point of school. But anyway, it helped me to be consistent with habits because I had a routine that was much stronger. And nowadays I move around a lot, and so I have to be very particular about how I design my routine, how I keep myself accountable to these things. When I started traveling, I lost this habit, but the habit was basically writing three things that I was grateful for that day, and they just had to be specific. I couldn't be like, I'm grateful for the food I have on my plate and the roof above my head, because those are easy. Those are kind of, they're too vague. And of course, you don't want to take those things for granted, but in doing three things, you had to be more specific, and you had to think about the day that you had and what did you enjoy about that particular day. So, for example, sometimes I would go on this walk to my school, and I had to walk through this like green patch between like my bus stop, my public, because I used to take the public bus, and the school. And this is just for the last year and a half of my schooling years. And it was really pretty. And a lot of the time, that was one of the three things I'd write down. It's just like I really enjoyed that walk. The way and I can remember it to this day. I can picture that walk so well. I'm realizing now that such a strong part of that is because I was I basically for the first 3 months or 6 months, I didn't really feel anything. Like nothing changed about my life. I just wrote down three things that I was grateful for, and I was specific about them, and I reflected. Like it just, I had to think about, okay, what did I do today? I went out for lunch. I had this, whatever, and then I had to figure out three things that I liked from that day. And I didn't realize the impact that had until like 6 to 9 months later, when I started realizing that I was appreciating so many more little things. Like you could put me anywhere and I was just happy. I was a genuinely like really, really, really happy person. And it's not some like over like it doesn't mean that kind of I'm like an excited pinball jumping around everywhere. It's just I was a lot just really content. Um and I realize now also that made me pay attention to the smaller things, and now I can relive a lot of those memories. Like I remember that walk super vividly because I did it so many times, and so many times I just stopped to appreciate it because I really enjoyed it. And that was it was I didn't realize the effect that habit would have. And I think that's a really, really nice one. Like it because it forces you to reflect on things every single day and to appreciate at least one thing of that day. And over time, you'll start to realize you can notice smaller things on a day to day basis because you've built up that habit. But the results aren't instantaneous. And I was lucky to stick to it for at least like 6 months. And then even after when I stopped doing it, I kind of like there was this residue of a habit, where I just like, I appreciated a lot of things. And I want to get back into that. I think that was really, really great. Um, so I'm excited about that. And that's something I literally started like 2 days ago. But just having done it before and knowing what it can do to you is really nice. And having my assistant just kind of keep, stay on top of me about it, I think is also a good idea. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty excited about just things moving forward and heading to Singapore as well. I haven't been there in a while, and I'm very excited to be back. So that'll be good fun.